Hello everyone. In the classes so far, we have learned about certain data types and the data structures like list and dictionaries. This particular session focuses on another type of data which is called as tuples. So this is also a data structure, just like your list and dictionaries. You also store the content in these tuples in certain manner. The content could be your integer type, it could be your string type. However, unlike dictionaries, tuples is almost similar to list. So you can say that it is 98% similar to list. The rest of the 2%, how a tuple is different from a list, let's learn about it. So let's get started. So let's first know what a tuple is. Okay. So just like I had told you, if I go to create a dictionary, I would write like this. Sorry, if it's a list, I would put it in a square brackets and I would number it like this. So it's a list enclosed within a square brackets and the contents like 50, 20, 60, 80 is being stored in it. If it's a dictionary, I would have written something like this. I would keep it in a curly brackets and I would give a key value pairs. Something like this. However, when it comes to tuple, unlike list which is stored in a square brackets and a dictionary which is stored in a curly brackets, your tuples are stored in parentheses. So for example, I can say coordinates, or maybe I can say uh, person. Okay, let me create a simple tuple. So this is your empty tuple. Let me erase the previous ones. Those are different type of data. This is your tuple. Okay, this is a empty tuple. The identification of tuple is the parentheses which you can see here. So anything stored within the parentheses is tuple. Okay, so if I push some content here like Aditya and 25, so it's a tuple containing mixed type of data. One is string Aditya, one is integer 25. Both are enclosed within the curved brackets here. You can see, not curved, sorry, parentheses. And just like list, you can also access it in full. If I if I try to print person, you will get the complete tuple here. If I try to print, like I said, it's 90% same. So remember those indexes, those position from left to right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and from right to left, -1, -2, etc. Everything is applicable as it is here. Okay, if I have to access only a specific position, I am going to write say 0, that's going to give me 0th position. If I write 1, it's going to give me the first position. And same way, if I had a large tuple, say city is Tokyo and country is Japan and his organization could be Microsoft. So if I have to access, here I am printing, accessing and printing just by one index. But if I were to access in a range of index, maybe starting at 1, ending up to 4, it's as same as list. So you can see here, I got it. If it's behaving almost same as list, then where is the difference between a list and tuple? So the difference actually lies in the mere fact that the list can be updated. The list is mutable. So had it been a list, had it been a list, of course I would have to keep it a square brackets here, and I want to update my first position. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to access the first position and I may replace it with by name. And if I try to print it, you will see that the list is getting updated, right? But this you cannot do with tuple. Yes, so this is the core difference. The list can be updated, but tuple cannot be. Tuple are meant to store that data which are meant not to be updated. They might be sensitive data. You are maintaining some data which you don't intend to be getting updated by mistake by program. So suppose I want to write here person, okay, or maybe say date is something that I'm maintaining in a tuple, so it's 2023, and maybe you can write 3 2, okay. So it's in the format of YYYY DD and MM. I am storing here. So if I try to update this, you'll get an error. If I write here 2022 or 2024, you will see that it's an error. It says that, oh, apologies, the variable should have been same. Yes, it says that tuple object does not support item assignment. Now why it does not support? Because like I said, they cannot be updated. So that's the thing with tuple. The rest of it is completely same. The way you treat your dictionaries, the way you treat your tuple, it's all same. Just the difference is you cannot update your tuples. Okay, so it is meant to keep your sensitive data or the data which you don't intend to update later on, right? Apart from this, there is another difference, another a very small trivial difference. Let's learn about it. If you are creating a list of just one object, for example, I can say here cities, okay, and this happens to be a list meant to contain multiple cities names, but you are just keeping one city name, and that is Delhi. Yes, however, this will work fine if I try to check what is the type of data this cities is. So I'm going to print, within print I'm going to call another function type. So this type is a function which gives you what type of data it is, the data type of that particular variable. So this tells me that it's a list, right? However, if I try to do this with tuple, you will be surprised to see that Python has failed to recognize it as tuple. It is identifying it as a string, right? Thing is, in Python or in mathematics, we quite often use the parentheses to give a clarity. For example, if I write uh, result equal to 2 plus 2, 2 plus 2 minus 4, or maybe minus 1. So I can always put parentheses like this or more than this to give better clarity. So Python doesn't give error if you give the equal amount of parentheses around the data. If you wrap the data, it's all fine, right? So this is what is happening here. When you're writing Delhi, it's as a string, and you are it since it happens to be just one element, and you're wrapping around parentheses. Python is getting confused and feels that it is, you're just putting it as a kind of a clarity or something. But if you really meant it to be a tuple, only for the single element. So a tuple with just single element, you should trail it with a comma. You should just put one comma. So what this comma tells is no, although it is one element, but this completely comprises of a tuple. So you can see here that it's tuple, right? And if it's more than one element, then it's not a problem ever anyways. Python will always recognize this as tuple because it's multiple tuples separated by comma, just like multiple elements are separated by comma in list. And here's looking at the brackets, which are parentheses, Python will automatically treat this as tuple, right? Since tuple is not mutable, that means since tuple cannot be updated, so what happens is the kind of features we had with respect to lists, the methods and the functions we had, like dot append, dot insert, all such things, or dot remove, or dot pop, all such things doesn't work with tuple. Please note, it doesn't work with tuple because tuples cannot be updated. However, tuples has its own methods and functions. It has very few, but it has still few which can operate on the data which is stored in tuple. So if I write here favorite numbers and I store it in tuple, something like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. If I try to, maybe I can repeat some numbers here. Yeah. So 5 is being repeated. Okay. So there is something called as count. What I can do is, if I write favorite dot count and I try to count how many fives are there, let me print it. Let's see what this gives you. Okay. This count gives you, just like you have count in your list, same way the count is also present in tuple. So this gives you the number of occurrences of the element which you're providing within the parenthesis, right? And apart from count, there is something called as index. Okay, so if I give 20 here, now what index does is, just like your list or just like your string, in tuple also, index tells you at which position this particular element is lying. Okay, so if I run this, you will see that it says third position. So 20 is lying at third position indeed. 0th position, first position, second and third. If I check for 35, you will see that 35 is lying at 6th position. So the role of index is to tell you whatever data is being passed within parentheses, at which position is it located in the tuple that you created, right? And of course, if you want to create a new tuple, say if I have a tuple called as x, which has 1 comma 3 comma 5 comma 7, and you have another tuple called as y, which has 2 comma 4 comma 6 comma 8. If you try to add it, x plus y, what happens is a new tuple is being formed for you by the combination of x and y. So if I try to print here, so this is a new tuple you are forming by the combination of that. So you have operated on two different tuples. Okay, if I had multiplied the x, if I had multiplied the x by say 5, then what happens is the x gets replicated that many number of times. You can see that once, twice, thrice, etc. Okay, if you see carefully, the original tuples, the x and y, are not getting modified. Rather, taking the data of those x and y, we are actually forming a new tuple. So this is also possible in tuple, right? Tuple is very small topic, uh, quite less used compared to any other data type like list or dictionaries. You may not use it much, but it is really good to know that there is something called as tuples. You can store your data in a sequenced manner, just like list. You can store the integers, you can store the strings, or a mixed type of data, whether it's tuples of tuples or tuples of strings. You can create a lot of tuples, and you create it with an intention that if you're storing a data in a tuple, it should not get modified during the runtime or while you're running your Python, right? So that's about it. Thank you.